Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk About session from February. It is February, yes. I'm not getting confused. My name is Ron. I'm the community manager in Test Huddle, and today we're going to be talking about the life as a software test consultant. And I'm joined by Duncan and Simon here. Both have made time to contribute to this discussion, so I appreciate them taking out the time today. And hopefully over the next hour we're going to cover a good few topics about life as a test consultant, everything from uh, how one working as a software test consultant to the practical aspects, including tax, wages, and training. So to start off with, I have prepared a few slides. First off, maybe I'll get the guys to say hello. So say hello, Duncan and Simon.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Good, nice to have you. Duncan is sitting is really he's what's the word I'm looking for, Duncan? You're exhibiting the life of a software test consultant today because you're coming to us live from a car. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, right. In the passenger seat of my car. So rock and roll.
There you are now. So, folks, if you thought the life of test consultant was all glamour, um, so Duncan will disapprove you of those notions hopefully very soon. I have some slides here I'm going to share with you now, so just stick with me, folks, and we'll get started. So, as today's session is going to be about life as a independent tester or software test consultant. And our two guides today are Duncan and Simon Peter Shriver, Duncan Nesbitt and Simon Peter Shriver. So Duncan, maybe we'll start with you. If you want to give you a brief introduction about yourself and what you're doing now and what your background is.
Yeah. So I'm a software tester. Been testing since 2000. And I went independent back in 2006. And between 2006 and now, I've predominantly been independent, but I have kind of flip-flopped between perm and independence as well, depending on the situation. I'm currently fulfilling a testing role for a client in the northwest of the UK, and loving it. It's all good. That's me.
Perfect. That's perfect. And Simon, how about yourself? Just what's your story?
Okay, Simon, the name in the passport. Peter is the name used here in the Netherlands. I am independent since 1997. Yeah,
Wow.
the year of my son was born. I'm independent since. Wait. I'm mixing things up. 1997, I started as a tester. 2005, I was independent. Mixing things up. I started based on a decision which I made lying on my bed with a almost an hernia. I am currently working as a mobile app tester for a big bank in the Netherlands, and I have done some various roles between test coordinator, test manager, and senior tester. So every role which is coming by, which I like at that moment, and yeah, I pick it up. So at this moment, I'm a mobile app tester.
Perfect. That's thanks, Simon, for that. We'll get more into the backgrounds of both Duncan and Simon and their move into test consultancy later in the Hangout today. The discussion is live on testhuddle.com, so you just head there. You'll see the slider on the homepage, and you'll be able to join it there. It's also streaming on YouTube, so you can join us there, and also via Google+. So if you have any questions as well, there's a discussion forum on Test Huddle as well, so you can submit any questions there. And that brings us nicely on to next month's events. Just briefly mention, in March there's a webinar series on Test Huddle with presenters Seb Rose, Jeffrey Payne, and Paco Hope. So three different topics covered. Seb Rose looking at BDD, Cucumber, Jeffrey Payne looking at continuous development, and Paco Hope looking at web security. So from the 22nd to the 24th of March, they are happening on Testhuddle. And if you want more information on that, just head to testhuddle.com/webinar schedule, and you should find all the details there, and you can sign up from there for those free webinars. So I'd like to mention, I mentioned this at the start of every Let's Talk About session, and it's important just to go over it again, because if you've just joined the session and you haven't been with us for any of the other ones, it's important to give you an idea of what these Hangouts are about. So they're peer discussions led by members of the community with experiences topics. So it's an open and interactive discussion. There's no strict led agenda. It's not like a webinar. There's not going to be a series of slides and then 10 minutes for questions at the end. The idea is we're going to discuss. We have a loose number of or loose topics to discuss. So if we loose agenda, we're going to discuss a few of those topics, and if we get distracted along the way, that's fine, because that's all part of this Hangout. If you want to ask questions, you can just join the webinar, or the Hangout right now. You can just go to testhuddle.com and find the Hangout page, and you can join us in this Hangout if you want to interact or talk to us or ask Simon or Peter and Duncan a question directly. So today's agenda, we're going to start with the very simple questions about why or how you want to become employed as a software tester. Then we're going to look at once you start a business. We're going to look at things like the job security of being the test consultant, your training and skill development. We'll look at career development, which are both sort of interlinked. And if we have time, then at the end, we'll look at the practical aspects like working away from home, retirement, trying to take holidays, things like that. So I might kick it off then with yourself, Simon, because you mentioned that you would like to include the why. I start off with the how, but you want to include the why. So why do you think that question is important? Why do you want to become a self-employed test consultant?
The reason you have to answer the why is why do you want to do that? Because it's not your own decision you make, or it's also a decision which impact your surroundings, especially your loved ones, your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you are by yourself, the decision can be made easier. But if you have a family, you need to answer the why, because it impacts the family. It's a new way of life. Security is different, because this is less secure than having a permanent contract, but we come later on to that discussion. Is it about the money? Why you become an independent tester? Is it about the freedom that you can make your own decisions? It's about the contracts, the gigs, the assignments you want to take, you like to take. It can also be in the education part you want to follow, because being independent, you can make your own choices. For me itself, it was in the beginning a mix of like the money, but I slightly went to the education path, because if you look at it from another angle, can you say to yourself that you are so good that they cannot ignore you? Because you have to sell yourself. And that's very important. If you want to start a business, answer that why, and are you that good that people will hire you without any doubt? What's about you, Dunk?
So yeah, mine was solely for money. I went independent to get more disposable income to pay for my wedding and honeymoon. That was a decision that me and the wife. You're right to touch on that, Peter. We had to run it by the wife because she's involved in it as well, right? But yeah, we needed more money, so I said there's this option to go independent, and she said, well, do it. Let's do it. If that will get us the money to pay for the wedding, then let's do it. Unfortunately, I think we'll touch on it later, maybe working away from home. My first contract was 5 hours away, So for the 6 months leading up to a wedding, I was working away from home, which was a trade-off, right? But yeah, that was why I got into contract testing.
Okay, so I suppose that answers the question. It's more of it can be straightforward for some people, or it mightn't be straightforward for others. Um, Moving on then to the practical aspect, if you've figured out that you want to do it, then how do you do it? Do you have to be a certain level in your career as a tester, do you think, or can anyone move into test consulting? How would you go about it? Just starting from that aspect, maybe say, Duncan, maybe I start with you. What do you think?
Yeah, so I was quite naive when I went independent. So I kept thinking I need to be of a certain level, a certain standard of a tester before going independent, because otherwise no one's going to want you, or you won't be able to get that extra money that being independent could afford you, obviously with the extra risk. So I kept putting it off until it came to a point that if I didn't go independent, we wouldn't be able to pay for the wedding. So how I did it, I just started applying for contracts that I thought I could do. Then I started off in the Northwest, and then I started off in the Midlands, and then I started looking at London. And basically, I just had to keep throwing my net wider and wider until I got a bite. I would do things very differently now, but that was what I thought was the way you did it. I thought you throw
Yeah.
your CV together and you send it out you respond to the adverts, and yeah, lo and behold, you get a contract. I mean, fortunately, I had a boss who was very understanding at the time, so I was going from a permanent role to independent, and he was understanding that all the contract roles that I was being offered wanted like an immediate start. So one of the things I learned about is the different types of contracts that are out there. Why do people need a contract? But I'll get onto that later. My boss was like, okay, we'll keep you on a month rolling contract with 1 week's notice, so that when you do get a contract, you've only got 1 week's notice rather than a month's notice. So he was really understanding. I don't know how I would have done it if he hadn't have been so flexible. Another tip that I got from my brother, who's also independent, was have 3 months in the bank. So 3 months of spends in the bank, just in case you can't get a job. Those dry periods. So part of it was waiting for the bank to have sufficient funds in it to make that leap. But yeah, that's my story. Peter?
Yeah, it's good that you mention the money bit, but that's from a point where you sort of have your business rolling, and if you are in between gigs, you have to have some backup. What I experienced in setting up my business is that I started with some money from the bank and money from my mother. So I had to get a sufficient amount of money to live for 3 months without no income, because when you start with a contract, the first thing is that you have to work 30 days, 31 days, whatever. Now 31 days is in a month, and then at that moment your first invoice can be sent out. Most of the time they pay after 30 days, and if you are not that lucky, it's 60 days. So be aware of, if you start 60 to 90 days, no money.
Yes, yeah.
Be aware of that. That's one thing you have to certainly be aware of. My situation was that I also had the situation of the economy in favor of me. It was 2005, and things were starting to rock and roll in the testing world. Because from 2005 to 2008, till the bank exploded, quote unquote, business was really good, and you could jump from gig to gig, so to speak, and seriously get a big amount of money. But for me, I was pulled by somebody. He wanted to work for me for his company, And at a certain moment I said, hey, I want to start as an independent. And he said, okay, I can help you. And together we got for me a sort of the first gig that lasted for 5 months. And then, the uncertainty, you lose it. You lose your first assignment. So I put my CV on the internet, and somebody was interested. Long story short, 5 days later, I was working for my second gig. So things can go that fast.
Yeah.
And I had a fortunate situation being independent now for more than 10 years that I'd never been out of a job, gig, or assignment or whatever. So something you earn on the road, huh?
Yeah. I was actually off for 3 months once, but I don't know. I believe things happen for a reason, and you make your own luck. But yeah, I could not get a job for 3 months. I think it's probably around 2008. Yeah, 2009. And I was fortunate enough to be through all the scans for the pregnancy of my two girls. Well, pregnancy of my wife with the two girls. So I got to go to every scan and be really close to that. So yeah, I had no money, but my quality of life and my family went through the roof. So, yeah.
Oh, would you say that, Duncan, in comparison to what you're doing, were you working 9 to 5 before sort of job? And
well, it depends again on the contract type you get. So some contracts are daily rate and some are hourly rate. So my first contract was hourly, and it was a Ministry of Defence project. So because I was working away from home, I just worked lots and lots of hours. So I'd made lots of money. The rate wasn't fantastic, but I made it up by working lots of hours. But after that, it's a day rate. So it depends where you're needed, right? You get paid the same whether you work 8 hours, 12 hours, 6 hours. But if you're working less than the kind of what is the company norm or contracted, then people start frowning at you.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
I had a situation. Okay, if you can make it, I had a situation with my second gig that I could work as much as I like, and most of the time these were 50 hours working week, and sometimes working in the weekend also came in. But on the other end, I got the freedom to go to conferences, to go to training as much as I like. Because especially working in the weekend, it's time for time, and working in the weekend was paid double.
Oh, cool.
So I experienced once a 21 hour uptime, so it was 42 hours paid out. I could put 4 weeks further in time where I was going to a conference the whole week.
Wow.
So I was covered with that. That was lucky. But now at this moment is a bit difficult. I have to go into a time schedule process kind of thing where it's only allowed to book 8 hours. No flexibility, but yeah, you always can make agreements with your supervisor that if you're a day off, you can work 9 hours on another day, whatever.
Yeah.
So one thing in the how to become employed as a self-employed tester is make sure your CV, your curriculum looks good, and that you are visible on sites like LinkedIn. But make sure that your curriculum is the same as on LinkedIn, because I know that if they have your curriculum, they will look for sure on LinkedIn and see if it is matching.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. Don't touch it up or make it look more nicer to get that job you're interviewed for, because that doesn't help. Be honest. Just say who you are, what your experiences are, what you have reached so far, contributed to whatever. Just be honest and sell yourself.
Okay, and well, that sort of moves us on to well, we talked there about starting your business, but that might nice segue into discussing how you get contracts or roles. As you mentioned there, Duncan, I think you worked for your former employer once you started out, so was very easy. But is it a lot of roles dependent on word of mouth and recommendations, or is it actually is there a way of, does advertisements happen and you apply, or are you just people contacting you that know you, that you meet? How does it work?
Do you want to carry on your answer, Peter? Because I think you
Yeah,
could just elaborate
yeah,
on your
Peter, if you want to
presence.
start, yeah, you can tell us if it's different or the same, Duncan.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I experienced several situations. How you get an assignment. Yeah, first of all, there are the interviews. Between my first and my second gig, I yeah, was notified it was ending, and my network wasn't that big, so I went on the internet, and yeah, 5 days later I got a new assignment, and probably my CV was good. The interview was going well. I was quite confident, and that person who was taking the interview with me, yeah, had some confidence in me. So I got the job for, and I worked there for 7 years. My current work, my current assignment, that went totally different, because I was again notified by my previous gig that things have to stop due to yeah, decreasing budget. So they had to save some money at the end of the year, and they say, okay, all contractors and freelancers, whatever, everything and everybody out. So yeah, I was confronted with that. Just came back from a conference, and I was looking around. It was a bit difficult. I went to a meetup with Michael Bolton and one of my friends over there. I was talking with him, and I mentioned to him, yeah, I have to leave my current assignment. Do you have something for me? Please look around and notify me if you have something. And he say, probably I have something. Send me your curriculum, and let's see how far I can come. That was on a Tuesday evening. On a Friday morning, I was sitting next to him. I didn't have an interview at all.
Wicked.
Purely based on my reputation, and for sure his reputation.
Yeah.
Because he could convince that, hey, if you want to have a good tester, Peter is your guy.
Yeah.
And I bet my reputation on him that he can join the team very quickly without. Yeah, he doesn't need guidance to start working. And the funny thing was that, and I heard that later. I was there at 10 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock was already fully testing, a mobile device in my hand, looking at my notebook on some logging files, and one of the executives came by and was asking my my friend, how everything going? Is Peter doing well? Look, he's already testing. He's already testing. What? Yeah, I told you so. So, yeah, that's experience. That's how things can go. It's yeah, your reputation, and that you have to build. You have to work on your reputation from the start until yeah, the moment you stop.
That's it. You touched on it, Peter. There, you've built your reputation. So, for me, it's the same idea. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be visible. You touched on it earlier, didn't you? You have to be on those social sites where people expect you to be, like LinkedIn, like Twitter, like your own blog. So for me, my CV is way more than the piece of paper which has my previous roles on it. I use my blog as my CV. I use my company website as a CV, so that you can understand. Yeah, this is where I've been and what I've done, but these are my thoughts. This is how I approach testing. This is what I think about testing. And look at Twitter. These are people I hang out with to help me do better testing. So it's because making sure that people can find you. And then when they do find you, it's worth looking at and worth reading.
Yeah, so is building a website or starting a blog a big part of that, of getting your name out there, or building your contacts? Is that part of it, would you
Not for
say?
everyone. Not for everyone. It was for me. That was how
Okay.
I approached it. But I know lots of people who are successfully independent who don't have any web presence other than LinkedIn. And they just do what they do. They've got their recruiters who they trust, and they contact those recruiters when they need a new gig, and around they go.
Yeah. Same for me. I don't
Right.
have I don't have a website. My stuff is on LinkedIn, which is more or less the same information as on my CV. The only thing is
Yeah.
my experiences with tools and applications and the training I've done. That you can find on my CV, but my whole testing career, you can find, so to speak, yeah, on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've covered that area very well. The next thing on the agenda was talking about job security. So, Duncan, you mentioned there about people that have a recruiter that they can get in contact with if you want to change jobs. So, in terms of contracts, how long do they last? Like you said there, Peter, that is can last number of years, but um, can it be as long as that, or can it be very short? What way did it work out?
Okay, let me answer that one. It can be 3 months, can be 10 years.
Okay.
But,
Right, so everything.
no, it's
That's
purely,
what problem they're trying to fill.
yeah, but it's purely the situation. Because my first gig, I was replacing a person who was out for a few months due to a herniated disc in his neck. He had to have surgery, and my last gig, so to speak, where I'm currently working on, I got the assignment to help out, and if I look back, they want to take me for a few weeks, but things went not that successful as they thought. So instead of going live on the 1st of November, they went live somewhere in January. And at that moment, I was sort of notified in the sense of it looks like if something will end with this app, and it's not a banking app but a retail app.
Yeah.
So I had a discussion with my delivery manager. He said to me, "Hey, I think the people from the banking app can use a good tester, and I know you how you work and what you can contribute. I know how valuable you were for the retail team. I will move you to the banking team." But I first had to get clearance from the bank. Long story short, that took a few days extra, but I got the clearance, and yeah, it's now let's say 1 year further, and work is starting to continuously grow because new things coming around, and if I stay here, it can be probably for years again. So, but if they say, hey, money runs out, they can terminate you like this,
Yeah.
and you're out. To be aware of that, and that's also why Duncan mentioned that always have a buffer.
Right.
So,
And how
sorry,
about yourself, Duncan? Yeah, go ahead.
so for me, it's to try and understand what problem they're trying to fill. So yeah, so Pete touched on there the fact that covering 5 months of illness, but it's obviously, yes, you've got like the maternity cover that's filling that. We've also got like when they're spinning up new projects, and they don't want to put the permanent stuff on it in case it doesn't work. So your collateral damage, right? So be prepared to be binned off when the project doesn't work. But as long as you're aware of what you're going into and you can kind of prepare yourself. So if you can see that, oh yeah, this is a long running thing. I'm joining a project that's 10 years old. like a defence project, then you know you're going to be fairly safe. So you can kind of understand what risks are associated with that, and then you can adjust your rate according to that risk. So if you were going on like a
Right.
1 week project, then you may have a higher rate because you're going to be out of work sooner than if you're on a 10-year government project kind of thing. But yeah, you can mitigate that risk by having some very friendly recruiters. So when you get the recruiters that are interested in you and your career and not just filling a hole, then that kind of helps mitigate the risk because they know you will deliver for them, and likewise they deliver for you on the back of it because they make money from you.
Yeah.
So again, going back to building your reputation, you've got to build it with the people that can get you the work as well, and that will help mitigate that risk of you not being in work. So, I mean, typically, is it 1 week's notice for you, Peter?
No, it's 1 month.
1 month, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been 1 week,
Yeah, but
and yeah,
let's say I'm now moving to the bank instead of working for this mobile app development company because the bank wants to have me as a tester in their organization, so to speak. But there I had to sign a contract where I had 14 days notice. But yeah, also with this company, I'm now looking back to the contract I signed with the mobile app. It was also 14 days to a month, but it can be between 14 days and a month notice.
yeah.
Okay. And have you either of you ever experienced periods of time where you haven't been employed as a test consultant? Was there periods between contracts where you weren't working? And
Yep.
how did you deal with that time, or what did you do at that time?
So in that time, yeah, I emptied my buffer of cash, and I again contacted all my recruiters. I sent CVs out to job ads that were just the most spurious job ads, but I was desperate.
Yeah.
And you start casting that further and further afield to try and find roles. So at that time, I was applying for roles globally, I would say,
Wow, right.
yeah, or Europe. And it was just the worst thing ever because my girls were going to be born in December. I didn't have a job until then. I was thinking, so then I'll be coming into Christmas. So
Yeah.
I'll be out of work over Christmas, and then I'll have the kids to look after, and it's going to be super tough. And I don't know. This is why I believe you make your own luck. I ended up getting a job up the road, which was a fairly noddy testing job, which meant I could work from home if needs be. If the girls had a bad night, I could just ring in and say, send me some work over, and I'll do it. So yeah, you just up your game when you're out of work. It's horrible because it's harder and more demoralizing when you don't get the work. But yeah, that was the one time that I've been out of work for 3 months. That was tough.
I didn't experience it yet, that severe outage, so to speak. The only thing between the retail app gig and the mobile app gig, so to speak, had some insecurity over there, but yeah, things were worked out quite good. So,
Yeah, because I wonder, that big question I would have is, when you are working in your current contract, are you always have half an eye or thinking about your next contract, or no, never?
No. From my situation is that I want to have me being seen as a reliable person.
Yeah.
So if I accept the assignment, then it's long term. I always say, hey, I started working here. The moment I stop is the moment you send me away.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on a role though, Peter, that was on like a death march and you knew it wasn't working, and you weren't getting respected? Well, the development team as a whole weren't being respected, and it was only going to end one way. Have you been on a project like that? Or have you been fortunate enough to always been great ones?
No. T-Mobile as my second gig in the beginning was really hard.
Because I've been on a couple where I have had to work out an exit strategy. So I have had an eye on the market whilst You're still delivering to, but yeah, you're right.
Right.
You still have to deliver to that client because you don't know when you're going to work with them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once had a situation where I already had my resignation letter in front of me, handing over to the intermediate person, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and he said, think it over. You're going on holiday soon, and probably this is a bit emotional at the moment because I really had a clash at that moment with that person over there, because he was a more senior person in the organization than I was. And now, luckily for me, I said, okay, I'll be the professional. I accept what he's doing and continue with it. Now, a few months later, he was more or less friendly moved out of the building, because they say that at a certain moment your career is not that glamorous anymore as you think it is. So it is perhaps a good moment to spread your wings.
Yeah.
So I think more than 100 people were waving him away when he was leaving the building, so to speak. No, but yeah, that was a situation where I was really desperate and wanted to resign, and then hopefully this intermediate this person would help me getting to a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question here from Thomas. He asked about I think your contracts are longer, Simon, so I don't, and this might be more relevant to Duncan, but he was wondering about, if I can find it here, about when do you start looking at if you're on a 3, 6, or 12-month contract for your next one?
Again, it depends on the type of contract you're applying for.
Right.
So some contracts need immediate people on the team, right? So they're looking for start tomorrow. It sounds like what Peter was on, but some of them they're preparing for like maternity leave.
Okay.
So they start the process a lot more advanced, so you can give 1 month's notice. So if you're in a contract already,
Yeah.
and whatever your notice period is, yeah, be aware of that, and then just tie it up against with what role you're going for. So you need to understand what their need is. So when they say to you, we need someone immediately, and you're like, what's it for? Maternity cover. You're like, well, when's she going off? And like tomorrow. You're kind of like, all right, so why are you only organising that now? So it kind of gives you an idea about what the organisation's like, how organised they are. What are they thinking ahead, or are they just knee jerk? So yeah, it gives you an insight before you even get to an interview. So yeah, it depends on what contract you're going for, the duration of that contract, what your skills are, obviously. So if you've got a special niche skill, they might be willing to wait for you. So yeah, it depends. Right? the useless answer.
Like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, I might just bring us back to the agenda. We're 40 minutes gone. We might have to increase our rate of discussing topics. We've discussed there about the starting business and the security, the permanent versus security or contract in a way. But moving on then to training and self-development, I imagine that if you're a test consultant, the idea of training and skill development, while it sounds like a great idea, the problem is obviously it comes up against you actually having to take time away from either contracts or actually make time in between contracts to do this. So how do you make that, or how do you balance that, or how do you fit training and skill development into your current roles?
I'll let you take this one, Peter. You've got this all over.
Now, of course, you have to see how much your hour rate is, of course.
Yeah.
And then, if the money is good, you know what you can spend. Because setting up your business means that you have to deal with pension, disability, liability, legal support, these kinds of assurances. You also have to take care of your salary, your services. the transportation, and training and conferences. So I set aside some serious money for that, and when I send away a small description of myself, who am I have one line in it that I always try to visit 2 trainings and 2 conferences per year. It can be that it is 3 conferences and 1 training, but most of the time, 3-4 times a year, I'm away. It can be in local in the Netherlands or in the neighboring countries like Germany or the UK or the Scandinavian countries. But there's also United States. And I go to conferences. Most of the time I every year go to CAST. I've been to Star East, Star West. Been to local conferences like Let's Test. Unfortunately, sorry for that, not Eurostar yet.
Maybe this year you might get
I
lucky.
hope. But it is very, very important because if you go to conferences, you meet some great persons like James Bach, Michael Bolton, Rob Saborin. These are the really, really most important people in the testing world. I also have the privilege to go on a training which was given by Jerry Weinberg about problem solving. This is a training. If you are independent, you can spend money for yourself. Go to that training.
Yep.
The guy is 80 years old. He has still the energy. His body is not that great anymore in the sense of he's walking with a stroller, but his mind is very, very sharp. It's amazing that he still can do this.
Yeah.
His physics are not that good anymore. Special trainings like, for example, I'm going in May to a training given by James Bach and John Bach in the Orca Islands in Washington State about reinventing testing.
Okay.
The title was really appealing to me, so I said by myself, wait, I go to that one.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
And said to my to people here at my gig, hey, I'm going to spend a week on this conference, and I squeeze in that time as being free, and they don't have a problem with it because everybody takes a few days off over here. So that's not ongoing business, but I have to mix it up between going on holiday privately and going on training.
Yeah.
With T-Mobile, I was in a luxury situation that if I work in the weekend, it's time for time. So if you have a 20-hour uptime, that means 40-hour payoff. You have a week for free.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's depending on the situation what you can do, but if you say okay, I spent 3 weeks. I saved 3 weeks for holiday, and then you have 10 days left over for other things, and most of the time people in a permanent contract can have 5 training days, so you have 15 training days. You can go to 2 conferences and 2 trainings.
Yeah.
And if you can deal with situations that you say, okay, let me work some extra hours during the month, that you can squeeze it in, that you make 160 hours in a month for a 20-day working month. Nobody's complaining while you've been away for 2 days or so.
Yeah, and how about yourself, Duncan? Did you find the same?
Yeah. So I found I had to be a lot more wise with my training. So I've spent a lot of time finding and gathering free training resources that I can do from home or in my lunch hour.
Yeah.
So I've only really just started getting on the conference scene, and I don't go to too many. Again, because of the cost and because of the time away from the family. Because as Peter touched on, you're taking that away from their holiday time effectively.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure. Yeah, you got to make sure they're on board with it. So I found a lot of free training, and then as I go around, people tell me about more free training or paid for training that you can get vouchers for, so you end up getting it for free for 6 months and things like that. So I've become a lot more savvy around the free stuff. And conferences, I'm currently learning how to be a better presenter and how to put forward better proposals so I can go to the conference for free.
Yeah.
I went to Agile Testing Days as a delegate, and it cost me an absolute fortune. I was like, right, yeah, I can't do that again. That was an experiment that was, it didn't fail, but there were some interesting lessons learned from it. So, yeah, I need to get better at presenting and better proposals so I can attend conferences to interact with the people that Simon Peter talks about. So, it's a learning curve.
Yeah, I'm also doing that now at the moment. I try to share my experiences, so I try to write good proposals, and I must say, and that's also a thing you have in the community. People are helping you.
Yeah.
I ask a person, Katrina Clokey, to help me with making a good proposal, and she gives me some tips and information. And this proposal, I send it away to an Let's Test South Africa, and it was accepted. And this same talk is also now I have to given it in European Testing Conference in Romania, and it is also accepted here in the Netherlands for testnet. So and also that information how to write a proposal also got me a speaker slot in the Nordic Testing Days, but that's on another topic. So yeah, I'm going now for quote unquote for free to conferences at the moment, because things are paid. The conference and the hotel are most of the time paid. The only thing is traveling. But I accept that. It's for me. It's nice that they are paying the hotel cost, but for me it's also the experience to present my experiences to the people, and that's also part of skill development. I think so. Share your story, talk to people, go on stage, and don't be afraid that people asking tough questions, because tough questions are also asked daily on your work. So
you're right. Sorry, Ronan. Yeah, the community is massive, isn't it? People?
Yeah.
You get out what you put in.
Yeah.
So, and just the test community that we're in is just phenomenal, and willing to help. So it's just so happy to give back.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that sort of leads us on nicely to talking about career development. So is there, I think I've asked you this before when we were having our trial session about or discussing topics about what to talk about today, and I talked about is there different levels of a test consultant, but in terms of career development, have you intentionally planned on like a 5-year or 10-year plan for your career and as a test consultant, or is it hard to do that if you're working from contract to contract? How would you answer that? Maybe I'll start with you, Simon. Maybe.
For me, I look, of course, in the future, because you have to have a vision, you have to have a goal where you want to go to, roadmap. But as I mentioned in the beginning, for me, I live by the mantra: I have to be so good that they cannot ignore me. So that's what I want to achieve, and look for the training that support this mantra, the skill development I need to do, because training will help you develop your skills, and you have to improve constantly and be valuable. When I started 10-11 years ago, we had mobile devices with just a small screen, and some 12 touch keys. And now you see you have iPhone, you have Android devices, a whole new industry evolved. Yeah, and I learned to be a mobile app tester. It is not that special, but it is treated as a specialty, which I disagree with. By the way, it's one of my talks in the future. But you see, you improve constantly, also to new situations. Be valuable.
Yeah.
Peter, how do you recognise what skills you're missing in order to go and train to help your career?
Coding skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I at this moment I'm still not that heavily involved in writing software code. I want to try to do that in the coming future, because at this moment automation is really significant, increasing at the gig I'm working on. So I want to be a part of helping writing some automation codes. But yeah, that's if I ever go into that direction, it's another topic to discuss.
So is your current role that's driving your training needs, or is it future roles you're aspiring towards that are driving your training needs?
I think my current role is also driving some needs, and it's the coding part.
Yeah.
Some social things can be improved, but I think I'm more or less covered. Yeah, okay, I'm already more than, what is it? I started in '88. Yeah, more than almost 30 years. No, 20 plus years on the job. I left school when I was 25, so
Right.
yeah, 25 years now. Yeah, working, so to speak. So I have experienced a lot of things, and that made the person I am at the moment. You make mistakes, you learn from that, and from that you improve.
Yeah. I suppose, how do you deal with trends then? You mentioned about programming there, Simon, but stuff like, as a test consultant, do you specialize in one area, or do you have to be a general all-round good tester? I'm just thinking about areas like mobile or web or security or something like that. Do you know is there test consultants in those specific areas, or are most test consultants just generally strong testers all around?
I think it's two ways. You have specialists and
Yeah.
you have all-rounders. I am more of an all-rounder in the sense of I, I deliver good test results, that's for sure. I have I found some bugs which were really annoying and jeopardizing go live dates and that sort of stuff. But you have also specialists like performance testers, like security testers. These are specialized parts. These are the non-functionals. Also usability is a specialty. But a mobile tester, yeah, for me mobile testing is just mobile is a channel, like a web interface is a channel. So there your basic functional testing experience comes around, and yeah, you have to have a sharp eye, and that's the experience you have. You recognize some behaviors of our responses of the system, and also from previous experience you recognize, hey, wait, I have to look here, I have to look there, and what I'm doing is more exploring than scripted testing.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And how about yourself, Duncan? What's your opinion on it? In terms of, do you think test consultants should or need to be all-rounders?
The same as Peter. You need those specialists. So like the security testers who they have the deep knowledge of security testing, the deep knowledge of performance testing. I would say I'm an all-rounder. I'm predominantly business focused, so business facing tester. So I can do automation if it's already there in place for me, but I can't write code from scratch. I can't create you an automation framework, but yeah, I can still manage to be employed. So yeah, it's just again, it depends on the contract you're looking for and what they're looking for. So this contract, I said, well, I wouldn't be suitable for that because I can't create you a test framework from scratch. And he said, no, it's all right. The third party delivering that. Between the interview or the chat and me joining the team, the third party delivering it changed. So I had to I had to pull out a kind of risk and say they were going to create a testing framework. If they're not, is the new third party going to do it? Because I can't do it for you. So I had to kind of call that out and put my own kind of contract on the line. So if they needed someone who could write a test framework, I wouldn't be the right guy. So
Yeah.
again, keeping my reputation rather than pretending I could write a framework and slog through it, I kind of just say, hey, this is a knowledge gap. It's a risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, it again depends what. And again, if you're a recruiter, it should be good at matching you and your skills up to roles and their needs.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I think we're getting close to the end here. I want to try keep it within the hour. We've covered a lot of the main topics there, and the ones that we had listed at the end, I think we've sort of covered them in passing. So talking about working away from home and holidays and things like that. So I might finish with maybe one or two questions for yourselves, Simon and Peter. Just overall in talking about the role, do you think there's a certain type of person that becomes a test consultant, or do you think anyone can potentially become a test consultant? Start with yourself there, Duncan. What do you think?
I don't know. There's different. I thought there was a kind of special person, a special person. Get me? I thought there was a type of person who would go to becoming independent.
Yeah.
But being in the market and being on both sides of the coin, I think anyone can. It's just what their kind of needs are, what their drivers are. So I thought, being independent, you have to be self-driven, self-motivated, and you have to kind of go out there, do your own training. And I speak to contractors who just there for 9 to 5. They turn up, they do their work, they go, and they do a very good job. And that's all they want from it. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't have the answer to that question.
What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, for me, it's how do you say it? I'm thinking. Can you repeat the question again, perhaps? I have a bit of card here.
I was just asking, do you think there's a certain type of person that becomes the test consultant?
Yeah, a certain type of person. Okay, thank you. Let's say everybody can be an independent.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking in terms of usually when people talk about people like to become self-employed, they have a reason for doing it. Like they want to move out, they want to try things, they want to experiment. But in terms of testing, it might be a bit different. Do you think that in terms of if you want to become a test consultant, you're doing the same job, but you're looking after yourself rather than someone else looking after you?
But what you deliver is a sort of a trade. Hey, I'm a tester. Hey, I'm an electrician. Hey, I'm an software developer. It is something you possess a lot of skills in that trade, and you can say, hey, I'm confident enough that I can provide my knowledge and experience as being an independent and start. Of course, you have to make sure that you start okay. And in our situation, I have some help from a person who was looking for a tester who could help him in filling in a job. And with Dunk's situation is that his employer at that moment provided him sort of a springboard to really become independent.
Yeah.
So it is also a situation where you can ask your current employer if they are willing to help you to become independent. It's a really tricky question, and sometimes they will help you.
Yeah.
Because it's only a different contract.
Yeah. Makes sense. I think we'll finish at that there. Thanks very much, Duncan and Simon. It's appreciate your time in taking part in the session today. And I think we covered a lot of areas, and we got a good idea of what we want, what the role of a test consultant is like, and the positives and negatives. I think was the main aim of the focus of today in discovering what the role is like, and I think we got a very good idea of that. So I want to thank you very much for your time, guys, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the community appreciates it as well at Test Huddle. So until we talk again, guys, thanks very much.
Nice one. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
If somebody have questions, we are on Twitter. Probably you provide the email addresses of us. We are willing to answer the questions which still left over.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a forum there's a thread on Test Huddle, so you can ask the questions there, and I'll point Duncan and Simon to it there. So if there's any more questions, I'm sorry, folks, we didn't get to answer them all. It's just we are a bit tight for time, so I said we'd better finish up. And I'm sure I'll share Duncan's and Simon's details. They're both on Twitter. And you might, guys, actually probably share your own details. Duncan, you have a blog and you're on Twitter, so you might just tell folks how to reach you if you want to.
Yep. So Twitter is @DunkNisbet, and my blog is at just duncannisbet.co.uk.
Perfect. Yep. And for yourself, Simon?
My Twitter handle is Simon Says No More, and my blog is at simonsaysnomore.wordpress.com.
Perfect. That's great. And as I said, guys, check out the Test Huddle thread, which you'll be able to ask questions there if you want. We're going to leave it at that. Thanks very much for tuning in. Next month, we're looking at the role of women in testing. So no presenters confirmed yet, but it'll be on the same as this time, the last Thursday of the month. So tune into Test Huddle for more information before we or to find out more then. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you again next month. So take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.